they've come up as a team that they feel will not be able to go far. Now Jimmy Butler is injured. Hello, good morning. This is your host, Taiwo Najobi, known as Maple Sports. We like to bring unfiltered opinions, sharp analysis, and some big love for Canadian hoops and ice. We try to break down the NBA, CBL, and carve out some small space for smart hockey talk. I like to always say, try something new, have fun, sing your heart out, and make a difference. Today's a bit different. I'll be talking a little bit about some of the new developments that are coming up within the NBA. The NBA, I like the way they are trying to increase their marketing reachability, trying to reach out to more people, trying to reach out to more countries to be able to watch the product. If you have a product that is good, you're always excited to reach out to more people, check out our product, see what's going on, and, patronize us as much as you can do. And I like the way the NBA is going about it. First of all, for the last 2 weeks, they've been able to play some games across Europe. They went to play in Berlin. That's where we had Orlando playing the Grizzlies, and it was a wonderful game. After leaving Berlin, they went to other European countries to do a little bit of a tour, and they played the second leg in London. So you will notice that they are trying to have some presence across different countries. And I'm also hearing, subsequent years they'll be going to Australia, Japan, and they also did China last year as well. So it's a big big love for NBA. I like the way reaching out to let more people know about their products, and that's exactly how you do. If you have a product that is sellable and is marketable, reach out to more markets, especially when you have a fan base there. Let them see the product and let them even patronize it a bit more. Trying to double down on some of these things that the NBA is also doing is, we just had the conclusion of the Martin Luther King weekend, including Monday as well, where we also played, where they had some games that were played across the US. And it was a different week. I'm going to be doing analysis on games that were played exactly on the 19th of January, which was the Martin Luther King Day as well. A couple of good matches that were able to commemorate that wonderful day. I'm sure we all know about Martin Luther King and how much he brought to the US, and especially what we have today in the US. It's basically because of some of the things he fought for as well. But shout out to him, and we had some wonderful matches on that day. And on the third aspect I also want to talk about is, they've been able to go ahead to come up with a very, very different rival week. And I like the concept around the AWS. And because we have a lot of companies now that are coming to the NBA to be able to ask for subscription deals so that they're able to air some of these games. And Amazon was able to strike a very good deal this year. And that's why they were able to come up with an AWS week. Now, the AWS week is starting from, I think, 21st to 24th of January. These games will be played by teams that were handpicked by the NBA. They are considered to be rivals. Yesterday, I was able to catch up with a very close game, which was the San Antonio Spurs playing against the Houston Rockets. These are teams that are in the same state, and they played a very, very wonderful game yesterday. And the Houston Rockets were able to bounce back from a 15 point deficit, and they were also able to win. But that being said, a couple of games are still going to continue today, and it's going to be until the 24th. But the concept is, the NBA is coming up with new things to be able to get fans motivated, fan engagement, increasing that, and also making sure that they make more money. Because the idea is, how do you have a product and you cannot make money from it? So that's why I said I like the marketing strategy. Even the changes that are going into the All-Star games is a very good development for the NBA, and I like the way things are going. I've not, a couple of weeks, had the opportunity to analyze some in-depth games, and I decided today we're going to just go through the Martin Luther King Day games, which happened on the 19th of January. A lot of drama around it, and it brings a new outlook to the way the NBA is going. It's clear from the beginning of this season that the Oklahoma City Thunder are still the only team with a single-digit number of losses. They've lost only 8 games so far this season, even though they lost out on the NBA Cup, but they still have single-digit game losses for this season. That's still very exceptional. And, a lot of things are still going to change between now and the end of the season. 82 games is still a long way to go. But now they've played over 40 games, which is good. And that was why I was able to do a mid-season ranking last week. And we're able to see how things are going so far for a lot of the teams. Oklahoma City is still very outstanding. Jalen Williams, which is popularly known as J-Dub, got injured. I think it's not his wrist this time. I think it was somewhere close to the Achilles area of his knee. Got a minor injury. Some people are calling it knee, but I've not really gotten any update yet. But he's going to be out for a few weeks, and he won't be able to play for Oklahoma. But in this kind of team where there's a lot of depth, a team that is deeper than the Pacific Ocean, you will see that a lot of other players will just step up. Young players too, playing at the same level. Even though J-Dub is the second best player on the Oklahoma City team, but the guys that will bounce up and just come up and just start playing will surprise you, and you will see that the team will continue in their winning ways. Immediately after this injury, a lot of people were worried that would they still be able to go ahead and win, and they went ahead and they won their next 2 matches. You understand? Overwhelmingly. In fact, they scored more points. So it now took me back to look at some of the analysis I did at the beginning of the season when J-Dub did the wrist surgery and he was not available. They were winning games. In fact, most of the games they lost was when he had come back. So you will see that the team is structured to have good replacement plan, even for their second best player. The only thing is you need your best player to be able to drive the team, and that's why I fear a lot if the Oklahoma City should experience any injury to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. They still need him because of that leadership and that late-minute drive. You need somebody that can galvanize the team and push them to do some of the things that they are not used to doing, because nothing comfortable grows. I mean, nothing good grows in a comfort stage. You need to have your back hit against the wall before you are able to come up with a lot of exceptional performance. And that's why you need a leader on the team. So let's just dive right in. I like numbers, like you all know. Looking at some of the performance from the games that we had on Martin Luther King Day, which is the 19th of January. I like what it represents for the United States and Black people around the world. And those games reflected that level of importance. And every sport or every franchise or every sporting entity within the US always recognizes that day. And that's why we're able to have a couple of games that were played on that day. So looking at the game flow, Miami Heat had a very tough game with the Warriors. And we know the Warriors are going through a lot. Right now um, they have a couple of injuries and they have an aging squad. And, they've come up, under a lot of analysis that I've had the opportunity of looking at this week. They've come up as a team that they feel will not be able to go far. Now Jimmy Butler is injured and it's an Achilles injury, which means he's off for the entire season. It's going to be a tough one for them to be able to get out of this. Jonathan Kuminga has a bad relationship with the coach. I won't say a bad relationship, it's strained. It's a strained relationship. The relationship between Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors is more of a divorce that was waiting to happen. And right now, it looks like Jonathan Kuminga would have been a very good fit or a good replacement for Jimmy Butler, who has just ended the season with an Achilles injury. So right now, Jonathan Kuminga has asked for a trade. It's now becoming a lot of drama within the NBA. And they need to give him a trade because in the offseason, there was a lot of back and forth. They felt that they couldn't give him what he wanted. And at the end of the day, he signed a 2-year deal, which I also talked about a couple of months ago. Now, the 2-year deal also gives him the opportunity to ask for a trade after a couple of months. And now we are way past the date in January, which he can now ask for a trade, or the team can now put him in trade discussions with other teams. However, with what we are seeing, it's very clear that Jonathan Kuminga is not going to be able to give his best on this team. He needs to be able to go somewhere and get some more playing time. Now, the team that wanted him was Sacramento Kings. And Sacramento Kings now looks like they've moved on with Russell Westbrook playing at a very high level. So now there's a lot of drama around what's going to happen. Will Golden State try to pacify Jonathan Kuminga to stay? Because right now he has publicly asked for a trade. And once a player has asked for a trade, automatically you cannot get 100% again from him. Now, the position that he would have played now, Jimmy Butler is now injured with an Achilles injury and is out for the season. So it's a bit dicey. Everybody's looking at it now. What could go wrong? What could happen? So the season is beginning to look very, very short. The optics are not saying so many things well. And you already have an aging team. Any small injury, the team begins to tilt away. So a lot of things are going wrong, but let's see how it goes. So in this match, the Miami Heat struggled against Warriors, and we're going to talk about some of the game flow on what they should have actually done better. Miami Heat is a young team also coming up. They are playing so well. Remember that they also lost Jimmy Butler, and they've really not had a superstar per se. And beginning of the season, they were able to get people like Powell from the LA Clippers, and he has improved the team, taking leadership. We also still have a couple of their key young guys that are still representing the team well, but we're going to be talking about some of their performances. Miami opened up the first quarter with about 32 first two quarters. They played so well, and they had a strong pace, good shots, quality, and early reading. But if you look at the second half, it was a disaster for them. Third quarter, they had 27. Fourth quarter was completely short of it, and that's where they had 19. Whereas the Golden State had 34-31 in the first and second quarter, which showed that consistency and efficiency for me. But looking at it, it's a classic profile of a team that runs out of shot creation. Um, the Golden State team still depend a lot on Stephen Curry. If Stephen Curry is injured, the team struggles. And that's what's going to, continue to haunt them until they have some kind of replacement that has that pedigree of Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry has improved that franchise to be better than what it used to be. So getting a replacement is not going to be easy, but it can be done. Yeah, it can be done, definitely. So Miami had some core problems that were exposed. Um, from what I see, they still don't have a primary shot creator. Um, if you look at some of the things that have happened to them in this match alone, Wiggins had 18, Powell had 21, Adebayo had 4. You understand? Mitchell had 7, Larson had 9. So if you're looking at scoring distribution generally, everybody's sharing that burden. There's no exact person that you can say is creating opportunities for them yet. So no one in this roster for me bends a defense. It's just like what Curry does. If Curry takes the ball and it tries to drive in, when you're doing your zone balls, or you try to get into the arc itself, or you want to stay back and get yourself to get those kind of mismatches to be able to create shots. In that situation, you're able to capture like 2 or 3 defenders. But what now happens is you don't really have that clear superstar on the Miami Heat team to be able to help you create mismatch or draw defenders back to you. Everybody has almost the same level of talent. You have Wiggins, Powell, Adebayo, Mitchell, a couple of guys. So most of them are like around the same. So nobody really collapses the paint per se, if you look at the squad. So for me, this is a team that is full of secondary scorers. There's nobody that you can depend on to be able to give you active scoring, just like what Curry is doing for the Golden State team. So they are all primary roles, secondary scorers, and they will continue to give you their own beat. Some days they give you 10, some days they give you 12, some days they also give you 15. Bam Adebayo is one of the key offensive guys of this game, and he can also play the center position as well. But they have a starting center as well in Ware, who has also improved. He was a rookie 2 years ago, but right now he has also improved on the team. But Bam Adebayo was one of 13 on-field goals, and that was a very poor one, and that's why he had 4 points. He had 12 rebounds, and it was minus 20, and that was why they didn't really have a chance of winning this game. Golden State, they had a kind of stretch around the length, looking at TJD and Hofford. Those were 2 guys that helped, you understand, to switch completely and neutralizing a lot of the threats that were coming in for them. So Bam, especially when he was not scoring, we now noticed that Miami's offense was now very predictable. It was one of 13. Automatically, it was clear that their main guy, who happens to be some sort of franchise guy, was not playing so well, and he was he's still the strongest guy on the team. So the moment he was struggling, automatically the Golden State were able to capitalize on some of those weaknesses, and they were able to go in and win. Miami's defense for me was overwhelmed. I didn't really see much movement happening. They were very overwhelmed. And that's why the Golden State shot 52% on field goal percentage, 47% from three, which is very good. And they made about 24 threes. But that being said, if you look at it, it's not just about shooting. It's about the systemic breakdown. The systemic breakdown was so bad that the Warriors, they got wide open threes. Nobody was contesting. High efficient pick and roll. Their kick out rhythm on shots was very good. Bench scoring was a bust complete for a team that I said earlier they are aging. A lot of aging players or key systems or key part of the system of playing, they are all aging, and they were still able to. Everybody was just getting their own. So this is what happens when the team kind of lacks a point of attack, and that's what happened to the Miami Heat. There was no point of attack from what I saw. Rim deterrence, was also a major weakness, and the rotational discipline was not there. And these are some of the things that we feel that they are used to doing, but for some reason they were unable to do that in this regard. So that's why you will notice that they struggled a little bit more. The Golden State team had wide open threes 90% of the time, and I didn't see anybody challenging. We had high efficiency pick and roll. Their kick out redeems were also good, and bench scoring was a bust. And they couldn't just get they couldn't stop the bleeding generally, and that was a problem. Looking at how Golden State was perfectly able to align with the weaknesses of the Miami Heat, Steph Curry controlled the game without overexerting himself. You could see clearly that he didn't stress himself much. He had an easygoing 19 points, 11 assists, and he was also able to spread the floor a bit better with 5 threes, and it was +3 on plus minus value addition on the floor. Quincy Post was also a big problem for Miami Heat as well. He had 15 points, 9 rebounds, 4 threes as well, and about +4 on plus minus value addition while he was on the floor as well. So for a Quinton Post, it means that he was just having very, very good time. He stretched the floor as a big, he can shoot and he can pass Miami easily. So it was a big kryptonite for them and a big problem for them. The bench also destroyed Miami. Golden State had about 68 points coming from the bench. Miami just had 42. That was where the gap really came from, because we are looking at a gap of about 26 points. So the bench, we had Podziemski killing them with 24 points, and it was +17, but he held 16 points on the +6, on the plus minus value addition while he was on the floor. And TJD rather had 7 points with perfect shooting across board, which means he was almost 100% on all his shooting. So Miami had some red flags, which I feel that they will probably have to improve on some of those things. They were 13 of 45 from three. They were not shooting well. And the team doesn't really have enough elite shooters presently from that match. So you have high volume and no productivity going on. So a lot of threes, but you're not getting them done on a night like this. So Golden State will be suicidal if you're not scoring on your threes. It's one of the best shooting teams. So that's exactly what I saw in that match. They need to either take maybe low volume threes and try to approach the rim and put some kind of pressure on the rim, especially when you're playing a team like Golden State and your threes are not dropping. That's the only way to approach it. Miami was -23 in 3-point differential, and that's a big problem for them. They had 20. Golden State had 24 threes, and Golden State 24 threes, and for Miami, the swinging was not good, and that's a 33-point swing from deep alone. So those are things that they need to improve on. For individual player notes that did so well, Andrew Wiggins had 18 points, and that's -24. And it still did not help the team even with those high scoring points. Norman Powell had 21 points, but was still -6. And Devin Mitchell, 7 points, -17. So those are some of the key things. Bam Adebayo was the worst of them. He had 4 points and it was -20 while he was on the floor. So a lot of things still need to change. On the bench, Fontaine Chio had 13 points, Jacquez had 10 points, and Jovic 15. Podziemski outplayed the entire second unit completely. It was a disaster. So their bench didn't really help them, and that was why they lost this match. Okay. So the next game is Pistons Celtics. This is a different game, and I'd like to talk a little bit about this game before going into the numbers. They gave us what we call a postseason catch of what we're going to be seeing. This is the number 1 team and the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference. Pistons are number one, Celtics are number two. Now, this Celtics teams has really improved because we now have Jaylen Brown playing at an all-high level. Even though he's not a starter in the All-Star, because the starters have been announced in the All-Star games, but Jaylen Brown has really carried the team. You know, he has carried the team. He's playing at a very, very high level, especially in December, where, he had a couple of good games. So he's scoring very, very high now. And the team has started going back to being a bit more efficient in their 3 points. Now we have Pritchard shooting lights out. We have White shooting lights out. We have Jaylen Brown shooting, very well. So a couple of their guys are already shooting so well. And you will notice that the Pistons struggled a bit because the Pistons were not the Pistons they rely a lot more on putting a lot of pressure on the rim. So what I noticed was the Pistons were facing the rim, slamming balls around the rim, while 3 points were just dropping for the Boston team. So they decided, their perimeter defense changed and they now decided to go into the zone. They started doing a zone at some point, but it looked like their 3 points were still going in because everything was contested, but they were still dropping. And I was scared. I was thinking the game was going away from the Pistons because then there was a separation of like 12 to 15 points already. But what I now noticed was that the Pistons team, they calmed down. And that was where their point guard came in. Cunningham started dictating the play, started having a bit more pull. They started doing that two-man game, him and Duren. And I noticed that everything was going well. And after a while, I noticed that they were able to cover up those points because what happens is, at some point, even with the way the Boston team was shooting, it will get to a time where they will also struggle a little bit. You understand? It won't really be like it's dropping all the time. They will also struggle a little bit. So they were able to capitalize, come back, and that's why the game was close. Pistons ended up winning 104-103. And remember that Celtics had the final possession. So if that last shot had gone in, maybe Celtics would have won, or maybe it would have gone into some kind of overtime, depending on how much time would have been left. But the Celtics team had the final shot, and it didn't go in, and that was why Pistons were able to go away with the win, and it was just a 1-point win. So the game flow is very, very predictable. Boston opened well. They had 29 points in the first quarter, and they surged again in the third quarter with 31. But the game was decided basically by the second quarter and the fourth quarter. Second quarter, the Boston team had 22 points, and while the fourth quarter, they had a bit of a stagnation with 21 points. But you see that it was a close game, and that's why it was 104-103. The Detroit team were mesmerized. They had to make quick adjustments because there was a time when the Boston team were just raining threes. Their threes were dropping very, very fast. So they now had to make sure that, okay, they started bringing in Duncan to go to the side, and they started making some side threes. Just they made sure that they put Duncan in a comfortable position. You understand? And when Duncan went there, he was shooting in threes because Duncan is their best 3-point shooter. And remember, Duncan was also on which team was he on before where he was shooting? Yeah, he was on Miami team, and he was shooting very, very well on the Miami team. But if you look at it generally, Duncan was given opportunities to be able to shoot threes and cover up because Boston had created that separation already. And that's where tactical mastery comes in, good coaching and good culture comes in, resilience. You will notice that bringing in Duncan was a strategic deal to make sure that he covers up that bleeding that was happening with 3 points. And I like the strategy that went on. But looking at the numbers, it gives us an idea of where it went on. Detroit went with a very conventional scoring pattern. The first quarter 26, second quarter 33, third quarter 25, and the last quarter they were 20. So, but if you look at the way, they never had a dead quarter. They had to be alive because if you have a dead quarter against the Boston team, you are going to lose the game. They were alive all game. Everybody was on his feet. Boston was I don't know, that team is a monumental shift, even without their best player. That team has experienced different things. And right now they are shooting well. And that's why they are second in the Eastern Conference. So the difference was just a 1-point game. You understand? And just one possession, which the Boston team had that final possession. So Boston's offense was good. It was carried by basically one man, and that's Jaylen Brown. He had 32 points, 11 rebounds, and it was 11 of 28 on field goal percentage. It was like, for me, the only Celtic who could consistently create a shot. And that's what you always need. Somebody that everybody is mindful of. Defenders are coming to him and is pulling away defenders from where they are. So, but the problem is structure. If you continue to depend on one man, there will be a problem. The Boston team that got to the final had two of them, but we all know that his second man has an injury, and that's why he had to carry everything. So the problem is they had 28 shots, only two made threes, high difficult attempts. So Jaylen Brown is going through a system whereby he now has to adjust, because then it used to be a two-man team being run by two leaders, but right now he's the only one. And I said it is really answering the call, and that's why he's earning over 300 million. And, so if you look at secondary creation, is also important. If you had a secondary creator to relieve the pressure on him, maybe they would be. But even without that, they just lost by just 1 point. It means that he's not doing too badly. He's trying his best. So this is what happens when Tatum, is coming back in. He's going to have some kind of relief. You understand? He's going to have a second help, who is a secondary creator, and every other person is just going to get them running, put them in positions to succeed, and everything becomes much better. But so far, I cannot just close this match without talking about the performance of Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris has sat out some games earlier this season, but this game was different. He had 25 points, and I like the way he approached it, because he had the opportunity to attack the paint. He was 11 of 20 on field goal percentage, which means he was over 50%. Duncan Robinson also helped them because he scored 5 threes. And I talked about it. He was only going for threes. And that was because he needed to stop the bleeding that was happening when Boston was firing too much. Duren had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 8 of 12 from the field. And that's very, very good, because Duren is more of their power guy. He can approach the rim and destroy anybody at the rim. So I like that. Cade Cunningham had 16 points with 14 assists. That's the floor general of the team. He has really brought a lot of relevance to Detroit. After going through a 28 corresponding losses season the year before, right now he's the best player on that team, and I like what I'm seeing. Osa Thompson, which is Amen Thompson's brother, had 7.7 rebounds and 4 steals. So this is a team for me, clearly, with a primary creator in Cade Cunningham, a vertical rim threat, Duren, a floor spacer, Robinson, who gave us 5 threes. Then we have a veteran scorer in Harris, Tobias Harris, and that was why they needed him to start this game. An elite defender in Osa Thompson. His brother is also an elite defender in Houston Rockets. So I like what I'm seeing in this team, and that's the pedigree of a team that is number 1 in the East. If they continue this way, they will definitely continue to create some kind of narrative that will help them continue to keep that momentum going. And, I wish them the best in the postseason. The next game I'll be talking about is the Phoenix Suns and the Brooklyn Nets. A lot of us know a lot of teams are still looking at how they can harvest some of the existing talents they have in Brooklyn Nets, because it's clear, as crude as it can sound, it doesn't look like the team is going anywhere this season. They are probably a decent team. They still have some picks that are good, and they still have some talents on the team. So a lot of other teams are looking to come to them to pick some players to improve their squad, like a Cam Thomas, which is still playing, very well, and a few other players, Nick Claxton as well, who can also be a rim guy, or he can be a threat, lob threat as well. So looking at how Phoenix approached this game, a lot of people expected, with the trajectory that the Phoenix Suns are going, they were supposed to win this game. Our first quarter, they scored 40 points, Brooklyn at 26. Second quarter, Phoenix went for 32. Brooklyn came back with 42, trying to see how they can salvage some points. Third quarter, Phoenix went firing again with 31, and Brooklyn at 21, and that was where the 10 points creation came the second time. Then the fourth quarter was very close, with Phoenix having 23 and Brooklyn 28. Looking at the way the game went, Brooklyn's 42 points second quarter kept them alive. But it was not enough, because Phoenix won the other 3 frames. So it looks like superior spacing helped the Phoenix Suns, shot quality, and the lineup balance. Phoenix Suns, I'm telling a lot of people, they are a surprise of this season. And I've talked about them last week. The way they were able to let go of their key stars and still keep everything together is surprising. Everybody is really surprised with the way they are playing. They shot 57%, that's the Phoenix team. Elite scoring happened here. They shot 57% from the field, 51% from 3. They had 20 made threes. Very good one. They had 78% on free throw. 78% on free throw is not so good, especially if you get into some matches where everything is very close, like you are playing a big team, maybe like the Pistons, or you are playing like like an Oklahoma City, who is a bit more efficient. 78% of free throw won't help you, but they were still able to steal this win away. They had 29 assists on 44 makes, which means that they need to be able to do a bit better when they are facing teams that are over 500, very tough teams. They were able to escape with this because they had multiple creators. They had elite spacing. They also had high IQ ball movement. And I like the way the new coach is really working with these young guys. They also had a clear offensive identity. So you could see that they are not afraid of their opponent. They are going, face on, checking their opponents out, and they are telling them, we have what it takes to win. And I like what I saw from the first five. The people that started: Dylan Brooks, Golin Gillespie, Devin Booker, Mark Williams, and Royce O'Neal. Those guys were outstanding because they were the ones that set the early pace. Dylan Brooks is still leading with 27 points and 6 threes. He was +7. I like him because he has really improved the team. When he was leaving Houston Rockets, I was a bit worried. I was like, man, if someone this good is leaving Houston Rockets, whatever team is going to help them improve their defense. And here he's even improving their offense. So it means that he's one of their best shooters. This is one of his best shooting nights, if you ask me. Brooklyn gave him a lot of space. Colin Gillespie also played well for the Nets team. The Brooklyn team, they lost him. For the Nets team generally, they lost this guy completely because they couldn't get him. You understand? They couldn't get him. They were wondering what's really wrong with this guy. He had 22 points, 5 threes, and he was +16. His shooting was overwhelming the Nets defense, really, from what I saw. Devin Booker, 24 points, he was 10 of 18, and he was +17 while he was on the floor. Mark Williams had 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks, which was +12 as well. And Royce O'Neal had 11.5 assists, and it was +13. I call it a glue performance. I like his scoring and his strong rim protection for Mark Williams. And Claxton could not even dislodge him at all. It was very difficult. Royce O'Neal had good performance, ball movement, and defensive communication across board. And that's why I like the way it went. So looking at the numbers generally, Grayson Allen also was explosive. He had 4 threes and 14 points from the bench. That also helped them to be able to approach the game a bit differently when looking at backups. And for me, that's championship level team. The team is quite young. They have a few veteran presences. For me, their veterans are still not so old like that. Their veterans are still. So imagine calling Devin Booker a veteran and he's still quite young compared to other veterans within the league. So Grayson Allen as well, helping the team, making sure that Royce O'Neal too has been in the league for a while. So Grayson Allen helped Livers, Don, Goodwin, and Richards. With that bench threat, they also give them something to think about, and that's why Brooklyn struggled. Michael Porter Jr. still carries a lot of the load for the Nets team. He had 23 points on 23 shots, 2 of 10 from 3, and it was -5. So it's not easy, especially when you are like the only person. Him and Cam Thomas are still the two guys that continue to carry the load for this team, over the last few weeks. So for me, I still don't see if there's any true point guard on the Brooklyn team. I still don't see that. We have Terrence Mann, we have Powell, we have Michael Porter Jr., we have Clowney and Claxton. Everybody is distributed. It's just like what we have. Some games when you watch the Rockets play, you still don't see the true point guard because Kevin Durant can bring the ball from the back. Amen Thompson can do the same. And in fact, anybody can bring the ball from the back. Reed Shepard is supposed to be their traditional point guard, but they try to be flexible in the way they approach their games, and that's why it's a bit different from them. So none of the players on the Brooklyn team really show that floor general that they can be. So Brooklyn bench had a few points that helped them. Cam Thomas had 15 and it was +12. Zaya Williams was 8 points. Nolan Traore 9 points. Ego Demin 10 points. So that's exactly what I saw, but it was not enough to be able to change the narrative. So that's why Phoenix was able to overwhelm them. The Phoenix team had elite shooting, multiple perimeter threats, continuing to put pressure across board. And Booker really controlled the pace because he's also a floor general as well. And Brooks and Gillespie, they stretched the floor completely well. And Williams was anchoring the paint. So they have, when you talk of the right personnel for a championship team, the Phoenix Suns have that identity. Um, a couple of teams that they will meet, they will overwhelm them significantly. And I feel that the Phoenix Suns have what it takes to be able to go far because they may not really have a superstar kind of player apart from Devin Booker. Dylan Brooks is really not on that same level, but he's helping the team. And once he's motivated the right way, I think they can also go far, this season. So that's a good one for them. I really wish them the best as they keep going. The next game I'll be talking about will be the 76ers playing the Pacers. The Pacers have struggled, but they've shown signs of trying to bounce back, even though their best player is not back, and they also lost their center in the offseason. But this was a competitive matchup because the Philadelphia 76ers are also bouncing back. Embiid is beginning to have his impact on some games, beginning to get what he can get and show that he can, he can match whatever is happening. The Philly guys won the moments that mattered. If you ask me in one complete sentence, they made sure that they made it count. First quarter, they didn't really dominate, but they were just up by 3 points. So they had the 33-30. Second quarter, Indiana came back with significant numbers, 25-17. And Philly now made it count in the third and the fourth quarter because that's when it matters. I always prioritize the third quarter because the third quarter determines how your fourth quarter looks like. Fourth quarter, you don't have any opportunity anymore after that quarter. So the third quarter gives you that opportunity to revive how the first half of the game has gone. So in football, we really don't have 4 quarters. We just have 2 halves. But in basketball, if your entire first half is gone, your third quarter is like the saving grace before you go into the fourth. So Indiana entered halftime with 55-50. They were already up by 5. And it was beginning to see that the game may flip in either direction if they don't approach it well. And Philly just came with a 32-point third quarter and they reestablished some kind of control. And they also had the 31-point fourth quarter as well, where it just helped them close the door completely, and the Pacers couldn't come back. So from some of my numbers, you will see that it's a young team that is punching and punching and punching. And Philly also has that with VJH playing at an all-high level, the veteran star, coming up, Embiid, doing so well. So it's tightening a lot of things very late and making sure that they're able to punish teams in the third and fourth quarter. Indiana is still a good team. They go to the finals, but I don't see them doing that this year. But they are not kind of built to win with the kind of personnel changes that have happened. They will need everybody to be 100% and probably just another new season to be able to try and show us what they did last season. They were 48% on field goal percentage. They were 38% from 3, which was tough. 79% on free throw, and they just had 104 points totally. Those are things that will definitely make them struggle. Normally with that, all those points I just called now is enough to win, but not against a team with Joel Embiid, that he has that interior gravity. You have Tyrese Maxey creating a lot of shots for this team. In fact, Tyrese Maxey is playing at an all-high level this season. You have a more physical bench on your opponent. You also have superior defensive versatility on the other side. No, so these numbers, you have to improve them. Free throw, you should be having at like 97% against a team like this, not even anything above 70. So Pascal Siakam is still one of the guys carrying the load for the Indiana Pacers. I feel for him. He has been excellent, but at the end of the day, people say, to what end? You are excellent, but you are not getting that kind of result that the team should be getting, especially based on the pedigree of the team right now. So Siakam, he tried to stabilize the team. He was at some point the only person initiating the offense. He created mismatches. He was hitting more of perimeter shots, and he carried a lot of usage. And at some point, when you are carrying a lot of usage and you're not winning, you get tired and you are not motivated. So you are a bit disengaged. So I think he's one of the players on the Pacers team that finds a way to stay encouraged and keep pushing, because he knows that the team has that DNA to still be able to grind out some wins and give themselves the opportunity to qualify for postseason. So he was guarding multiple positions, and that is really stressing him out, So for me, I feel he was the primary scorer, primary creator, and he was the defensive anchor, all by just one person. That's going to be very tough for you to be able to go far. You understand, if you are doing everything. And Duren also tried. He was efficient, but he was undermanned. And because he's not so tall, he's only able to do the little he can do, but he's a good 3-point shooter as well. He had 25 points, 9 of 15. He was 3 of 7 from 3. He had 5 assists, but he was also minus 10 on value creation while he was on the floor. And that's why they really struggled. So a lot of things still have to go on. But I like what I'm seeing from Maxi, Oubre, and Edgecombe. These are guys attacking the gaps because they are young and they still have a lot of energy and they are hitting big shots as well. Edgecombe, shout out to you. The guy has really improved. You won't even know he's a rookie the way he's playing. So, I like what I'm seeing from him. Aaron Naismith had 1 of 9 on field goal, which was 0 of 6 from 3. That's where a little bit of the challenges came in. You understand? Naismith, we expect a bit more from him to be able to help the team, even though he helped with 11 rebounds, which was quite huge. But the shooting collapse destroyed the spacing across the team. They also had 22 turnovers, and it was self-inflicted, if you ask me. So you cannot have 22 turnovers against a team like Philadelphia with guys that are shooting accurately and effectively. So rim deterrence was not good, even though they had 9 blocks and 4 steals, but it was not good enough. And these are things they need to really improve on, going into the postseason. And because games are coming up so fast, they need to find a way to improve all these things as we go into the season. Joel Embiid took over with 30 points, which was expected because he's getting back to himself. He's not really feeling those injuries. Before he started the season a bit because he was wary of injuries, but right now his physicality is coming back. He's creating more fouls and more free throws, and his mid-post creation rather, are coming back. So his defensive rebounding too is also helping the team. And every pacer, would, they may not be able to have the right answer for him. You understand? 90% of the time. So that's an advantage for the team. Tyrese Maxey had 29 points, 8 assists, and 8 steals. So if you look at it generally, you can tell that they'll continue to be a two-way team. Scoring, playmaking, pressure defense, and transition creation will continue to help. And, as it goes on, the team continues to perform at this level, and hopefully they're able to, just get a good position. I want the Philadelphia Sixers to be at least between the second and the fourth position, nothing below that, so that they get good matchups in their first round. Let's see how it goes, generally. So the next match we'll be talking about today is going to be a bit different, and that's the Spurs versus the Jazz. It's a bit one-ended. Utah Jazz has been considered a team that may tank this season because some of the matches they've played shows to me that they have a bit of a fight, but some other analysis that I'm seeing them as a team falling under the list of teams that are prepared to tank because they have no talent. But they are trying to push a lot of things, and I'm seeing them win some games that I did not expect. Playing against the San Antonio Spurs and scoring 110 points also shows that they understand the times that we are in, and they know that once they continue to put in those points, they can challenge teams. The San Antonio Spurs, with aerial defense, with one of the best defenders in the league, in Wemby, they are still able to score 110 points. It means that it's because they played a team like San Antonio Spurs. If they have played other teams, they will still be able to grind out some wins. And that's why the Utah Jazz, if you look at their performance, they control the pace and the pressure at some point. But it's just that the Spurs team are a superior team, younger guys that are fast, playing at a very high level, with a franchise that has championship DNA. Now, look at quarter by quarter. Utah had 26 points first quarter, while San Antonio had 34. The next quarter, 31 to 27. And Utah now dropped in the third quarter, 23 to 35. And in the fourth quarter, they now went up again with 30, San Antonio 27. If you look at the way things are going, the only surge that came for them was only in the second quarter where they had 31 points. You understand? Every other 3 of the 4 quarters, including the 34-point third, they broke the game open. They showed that they are willing to fight. You understand? So everybody is rooting for them, even though they don't have a clear-cut talent, apart from the Cade George guy. I like the way he's playing. Cade George is the guy really carrying the team when it comes to offense. So it's a classic pattern that you keep seeing. The Utah team, they compete very early. You understand? While the Spurs start to adjust. You understand? Especially from what I've been seeing. Wemby and Fox are really playing well. Wemby is really, really playing well. And De'Aaron Fox is really beginning to have that stability as the point guard. So the depth is also helping them space the floor the right way, close games, and shut the door to opponents, at every point in time. So if you look at the Utah team, their offense was fine. To me, I don't think that they're built to keep up. For me, they're built to win, but it's just that they don't have superior talent. It's just like they are facing some of the problems that, maybe teams like Charlotte will be facing. Yeah, they have young guys that are energetic, but they don't have a clear superstar that is like on the level of like them Kevin Duren, a Devin Booker, and all those other guys, maybe like a James Harden, but they're able to grind out some wins. That's what I'm seeing. They were 40% on field goal percentage, 35% from three, 85% on free throw, which is good, and they had 110 points. That's very good. Scoring for me was respectable. The Spurs were 56% on field goal compared to them and 42% from three. That was just the difference. So more efficient from three, and that efficiency gap was massive. And that was why the Spurs were able to win this game. The Utah team just couldn't match the San Antonio's shot quality and also the shot creation as well, and that was huge. Cade George had a huge night, he was forced into Euro mode because nobody was stepping up. And he had 30.7 of 20 of field goal. He was 4 of 10 from three. He was also 12 of 14 on free throw. So he had to be a bit more efficient for the entire team, to be able to, keep them competitive. He had 6 assists and he was minus 14 as well while he was on the floor. So imagine scoring 30 points, but you're also minus 14 because even your points were not helping the team. He was aggressive, but he didn't have any secondary creator. He created reliable spacing for them in his own way, but no rim pressure outside of him, and that was why they lost this match. Yusuf Nurkic also tried. He had some strong production, but he was outmatched by Wemby because Wemby is slightly taller than him. So definitely he will be outmatched. And Wemby is flexible. It's not as if he's tall and he's not fast. He's tall but fast because he's also slim as well. So he will most likely outpower Nurkic, who is also tall but not as slim as he is. So Nurkic had 20 points, 9 of 17 from field goal, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and it was minus 8 while he was on the floor. So if you look at it generally, a lot of things that they need to improve on. Utah should improve on rim protection, even though they just had one block the entire game. That's not good enough. San Antonio had about 12. So rim protection is important. Defensive rotation was a bit of a collapse for me from what I saw. Spurs were 47 of 79, which is 56%, and they were 16 of 38 from threes. That's 42%. Utah couldn't contain or match that as well. So even though Castle was splashing, but they couldn't just match the energy. Barnes also, gave them good spacing. I like Harrison Barnes because it's almost like fine wine. He's growing older, but still he's now playing some of his best basketball. So I wish them the best. These are two good teams. They have what it takes. Utah, we all know they are going nowhere. But the San Antonio Spurs, watch out for them in the postseason. They're going to show everybody what they are made of in the postseason. So we're really looking forward to seeing a bit more from the San Antonio Spurs in the postseason. So the next team I'll be talking about are the Dallas Mavericks. They continue to put more problems on the New York Knicks. Something is fundamentally wrong with the New York Knicks. They've not, in their last 5, they've lost, I think, to be very correct, they've lost 4 of their last 5. I'll have to check again. It's been monumental failure for me since when they won the NBA Cup. They've really not, I don't even think they've won more games than they have lost since when they won the NBA Cup. I'll have to check those numbers again. If you look at the way the Dallas Mavericks have been playing so far this season, they are practically struggling for their life. And they still went comfortably into New York Knicks and they won this game. And that was a big surprise for me. Dallas, for me, won the game in the first half. Everything was done in the first half. The second and third half was fairly balanced. And that was where the New York team just missed it out. The game was effectively over at halftime. And if you just look at the numbers, Dallas was 31 in the first quarter, New York 22. Dallas had 44 again, second quarter, while New York had 25, and that was the end. Third quarter, they had 19 to 24 of New York, while Dallas had 20 to 26 of New York. But if you look at the balance of the game, it was already gone in the second quarter, and there was no way they were able to dominate the Dallas team in the third and fourth quarter. They had the third quarter to save this because most of the time every team wakes up in the fourth quarter, so there's always a balance up, or there's always an opportunity for both teams to equal each other out in the fourth quarter. But the New York team tried in the third quarter, but the difference, they couldn't create that separation that they wanted. So the game was won in the first half. However, the 44-point second quarter was the knockout punch for me. That quarter was very, very different. The Dallas was offensive, efficient, and very disciplined. It was like as if they played very, very different from all their last 10 games. That quarter was more like very different from what they've played in the whole last 10 games that they've played. They were 49% on field goal, 47% from three. They had 15 threes that were made. They were 68% on free throw. That's not good. When I see free throws, for me to see a team that is efficient, you must be having at least between 85 and 95% of your free throws. And that's not good enough. And they were still able to win. So it means that the New York team is going through a lot of problems. They had 25 assists and 49 rebounds. So a Dallas team going into New York, who is the NBA champion, and having this kind of number, they still won, means that there's a big problem. I like the way they were moving the ball, the Dallas team. It shows that they still have resilience. They're still trying to fight for their season, even though they are not in a good position, but they are fighting for their lives. They generated some clean looks. They punished defensive mistakes and mismatches, and they control the glass. So for me, I think they can do a bit more better. The Dallas team didn't really need a superstar for me, for them to be able to get their performance. They won through collective execution, if you ask me. They didn't really need a superstar. So Maxi Christie also played well. It was 26 points, 9 of 13, 8 of 10 from 3 and plus 20 in ratings, which was quite good. New York, they repeatedly went under the screens, and that was the problem. The switching factor was a big one for them. Christie touched them seriously. His shooting opened floor for everyone else, and that was exactly how the game was able to go away from them. Cooper Flag was a two-way impact beyond the box score. I think there's a lot of pressure on that guy. Shout out to him. Anytime I get the opportunity to give him some of his flowers, I'll continue to give him. He really tried. He was a two-way impact guy. He had 18 points, 7 of 14 on field goal. He had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and he was plus 21 on impact on the field. So if you look at it generally, Cooper Flag played with a lot of poise, physicality, showing that he was trying to carry the team, that defensive discipline. And that he was the primary and secondary playmaker for this team, as far as I'm concerned. Najee Marshall supported him, tried his best, gave him 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and plus 15 while on the floor. So if you look at the team generally, they are really fighting for their lives, but unfortunately, the New York just became a victim here. Klay Thompson was doing his own with 14 points and 4 threes. Neymar had 6 points with plus 10. Cisse had 15 points, while Robinson L. See, these are some of their young bench guys. Gave them some good, had 14 points and it was plus 2 on the floor. So Cisse had 4 blocks, which was very monumental. And I felt that I should just bring that out. He's really improving the team. So the New York team, they're still having some structural problems from what I'm seeing. Karl Anthony Towns had good numbers, decent numbers, but no impact. 22 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, and it was minus 15. So Jalen Brunson is back. I don't think he's 100% from what I saw, even though he gave them 22 points, 9 of 24. It was 1 of 4 from 3 and minus 15 on his impact on the floor. For a pedigree of Jalen Brunson, that was inefficient, and I feel he was overloaded as well. So a lot of things need to change for the team to be able to come back to winning ways. Dallas was forcing Jalen Brunson a lot for tough pull-ups. He didn't have clean looks and he was pulling up. There were a lot of crowded drives from what I was seeing, especially going into the zone. No clean catch and shoot looks. Every defenders were all over him. So Michael Bridges is still living under the expectation, completely neutralized in this game. 7 points, 3 of 10 on field goal, minus 21. And that's the person that is supposed to, show up when the major two guys are struggling. And still, I'm not seeing that from him. And we're going to need him to improve on that before the postseason. So the Knicks are shooting in a disastrous way. They were 29% from 3. and 60% on their free throws. Why? A team that just won the NBA Cup, you can't be doing 60% on free throw. You need to be doing at least 85 and above. So those are some of the things that they need to improve on to be able to put themselves in better position to succeed. There are some few bench points: Clarkson, McBride, Dadiet, and Yabusele. So if you look at it, Dallas has won this one. They've taken the full points, and their 47% from three also helped them as well. They are superior on their defensive discipline, and hopefully they're able to, grind out some wins and at least get into the play-in. New York lost because of their poor shooting, 29% from 3 points and 60% on free throws. So if you look at it well, a lot of things need to change for us to be able to, get them back to winning ways. So the next game today are the Clippers. Clippers were able to grind out a win with the Wizards. Remember, the Washington Wizards had just had a new point guard joining them in Trae Young. Shout out to Trae Young. I also put it on my page just to congratulate him, because this is the first time I'll be seeing a superstar at the point guard level who is really not an asset when it comes to defending, going to a smaller market or a market that has not really enjoyed winning. You understand? And they embraced him this much. I really like the way the Washington Wizards embraced Trae Young, and they really want him to succeed there. I like the way they celebrated him. But the Clippers, which is my team, they had a close one. They started well. At the first quarter, end of first quarter, they both had 26 points. In fact, at the middle of the match, it was still very close until the Washington created some kind of separation in the third quarter, and I was scared because anytime the Clippers struggle in the third quarter or they don't win the third quarter outrightly, they end up losing. But this game, it was the fourth quarter that the magic came, so they created the full separation in the fourth quarter for this game. So this is what I call a non-conventional winning game for the Clippers. Most games that the Clippers have won convincingly well was in the third quarter. But this one, it was the fourth quarter they did the magic. So they were able to get it done. After the third, they were 81 and 79. But winning the fourth quarter by 31-25 helped the Clippers team to finish off the Wizards. Harden had foul problems. James Harden had foul problem, and he couldn't really, push a lot of the agenda he wanted to push. I know he had a stiffness around his shoulder a few weeks back, and I was monitoring it to see how he was able to go around it. But it looks like the stiffness is better now around his shoulder, which is a bit better now. So bench scoring also helped us as well, the Clippers team, and that's how we were able to try to surmount the pressure that was coming from Washington. Now, looking at the numbers, just to give us an idea of how superior the team has been, you will see that the Clippers shot 46% from field, 18% from three, which is very, very bad. And they still won this match, 5 of 28. And that's why I didn't smile so much. On the free throw, they were 87%, which was 33 of 38. It's okay if you have above 85% on free throw, but threes, 5 of 28 was very bad. Now, I feel the Clippers won because they lived at the line, because they had a lot of free throws. I didn't have 18 of 20 on free throws, and the team had 38 free throw attempts completely. You understand? So that was the reason why they won this match. Because if you look at their shooting was very poor. 18% from three. You don't want to do that against an Oklahoma team. They would have won you since. So when their jumpers were not falling, it was looking like they had to, go to the bench and get more fouls and get more free throws. So that's why they made quick adjustments and quickly, approached the game differently. James Harden was the deciding factor. He had 36 points. 9 assists, and it was 18 of 20 from free throws, and that's what really helped. And it was also a good plus minus, if you ask me. Even though it was a vintage Harden performance in a different way, he was not efficient from deep. He was also 0 of 5 from deep, but he had to approach the paint and get more free throw opportunities. And he was also able to manipulate contact as well to also get more fouls. He controlled the pace and created mismatches to stabilize every run that was making, especially into the zone. You understand? So Washington had no guard who could stay in front of him without fouling him. They were just getting a lot of fouls. So a lot of the other guys were quiet. Zubac got 14 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists and 3 blocks. Very quiet. And the Clippers bench was also able to help with some production. Brook Lopez 16 points, Batum 3 points, Jordan Miller 6 points. And, they were just able to get by to help the team outperform a Washington team, who is just beginning to come up. Alexa is still playing at a very high level with 28.6 rebounds, and it was 6 of 6 from free throw, who was plus 11. So pick and pop is the style, and they were excellent in doing that. And rim running, you know. But at the end of the day, the Clippers team was able to find a way to get more fouls and get more free throws to be able to edge them. Um, Chris Middleton had 11 points, Trey Johnson 15, Bob Carrington 17, and they were able to do their own, but it was not enough for them to win. So I was really happy about this win for the Clippers because it just gives them one step closer, to getting to the finish line because the season is getting to a stage where it's now becoming a dogfight. And when you're getting to the third quarter of the season, when you're getting to 60 games, 68 games, it now begins to show clearly who is going to, finish up, even though from the second up until 8, 9, 10 team, a lot of changes can still happen. Okay, so that's it for the Clippers. The next game is the Oklahoma Thunder facing the Cavs. The Cavs had rejuvenized, how would I put it now? They've more like kind of reinvented their style of playing. That's the best way to put it. They've reinvented their style of play. They've made some adjustments. But even with those adjustments that they've made, they've won more games than they've lost, especially since they changed their style of play. Right now, we're having a lot of help coming for their top point guard. A lot of help now is coming, and you will notice that their rotation ball is becoming better. I like the way they are playing their rotation ball. I'm going to talk a little bit about it when we look at the numbers. Even though they lost this game to Oklahoma City Thunder, but I like the way they are helping their best shooter, which is Donovan Mitchell. They are helping him to reduce the pressure so that he doesn't carry that weight of 3-point shooting or shooting from outside the arc. They are really reducing that pressure on him. So you will notice that the shooting attempts that he's taking are reducing gradually. So we're now having more players come on board and help with that load so that he does not get to the postseason and is not 100%, because injury is always a problem for him in the postseason. So I like the way they are able to help him. OKC is still the best team in the league, so it's not easy to play against an OKC team and still have some weaknesses within your team. You'll be punished for it as a mismatch. OKC led first quarter 32, Cleveland 27. They led the second quarter again 34-24, and that's where the creation started. While the third quarter, Cleveland tried to push back with 28-25, but it was not enough because OKC was coming with a fourth quarter that was very aggressive with 45 and 25. Now, if you look at it generally, and that's what helped, the OKC team, they were able to force their style of play on the Cleveland team. Last season, those were the two teams we were looking out for because OKC was leading the Western Conference while the Cavs were leading the Eastern Conference. People wanted to see how those two teams match up. But at the end of the day, we're now able to see that the Cavs took one of the wins, OKC took two out of the wins. So it was now clear that, okay, the Cavs are good, but OKC may be better because they are slightly younger, if you look at the squad, while the Cavs team are slightly older with a few veterans, but still a very good team defensively. Thunder, the Oklahoma Thunder won 3 of the 4 quarters, and they put up 66 in the first half, which was very, very overwhelmingly in their advantage. It was too much. 66 in the first half, and they dropped 45 in the fourth quarter to bury Cleveland. It's just like you have defeated the team, but you now bury them fully with 45 points in the fourth quarter. That was not good. So OKC was very unstoppable in this game. They were showing fire for fire. They had 56% on field goal percentage, 49% from three. They had 23 made threes. This team is coming for fire in the postseason. They have 65% free throws, and which is not really good for me. They had 32 assists and they had 11 turnovers. For me, this championship level offense, for me, in fact, the structure is too good. Compared to even the way they were playing last season, I like this offense. So the best player on the floor was Chet, and this is the first time I'll be saying the best player of the team is not SGA. Chet had 28 points, 11 of 16 on field goal, 4 of 5 from 3, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he was plus 34 on his plus minus. When you're talking of value addition while he was on the floor, that was good. He was dominant. if you look at the way he was picking and dropping, picking and popping, no, forget it. The guy was good. His threes were good, 4 or 5. And he also had 2 blocks that were good. The rim finishing was also solid. And they didn't really have an answer for him. That was just the Cavs didn't have an answer for him, and that's why he was able to score that much. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was the second on the effort control for me. He had 30 points. He was 12 of 20, 5 of 5 from free throw, and he was plus 17 while on the floor. Good impact, and there was no way you would talk about the best 3 teams. Best 3 players on the Oklahoma City team, and you won't mention SGA. Mid-range mastery is still there. Pace manipulation. He has what I call surgical drives. The way he drives into the zone is so different. He still had that. He had 0 turnovers as well. So he didn't lose the ball. So Cleveland did not really have any guard who could stay on SGA. They didn't have an answer for him, and that was why Lugan Dort is still playing well, shooting very well from 3, even though his style of shooting is very interesting, but he's still shooting well. He had 18 points, 6 of 7 from field, 5 of 6 from 3, and it was plus 34. So that's still a very good one. So anytime Dot shoots like this, OKC becomes unbeatable generally. So that's just the way it is. Aaron Wiggins also came in. Aaron Wiggins gets the opportunity to play well when J-Dub is injured. And that's the perfect connector. He had 12.6 assists. He had 5 steals, which nobody talks about. And it was plus 16. He did everything. He was cutting, defending, moving the ball, hitting open shots. He was everywhere. And that was how they were able to win this match. On the bench, they also had some people that punished their, weaknesses. Caruso had 16 points, he was plus 17. Isaiah Joe had 16 points, he had 4 threes, and he was plus 20. And Dieng had 5 points, Wallace had 5 points. Wallace, too, is going to get more points if J-Dub is away for a longer time. So Caruso is still playing well. I like what I'm seeing from him. Thank God they went for him. But the Cleveland still have more problems everywhere. Even though they improved in their last 5 to 6 games, they improved, but they still have some problems. Donovan Mitchell is still carrying some load. I like the way they've reduced his shooting responsibility has reduced. Yeah. But when you talk of leadership and carrying the team, driving the offense, he's still carrying some load because there's no how you will say that he's not carrying load. But I like the way they reduced that pressure from him over the last 5 games. He had 19 points and it was 5 of 18 from field goal, but it was 1 of 9 from 3. On a good day, he has more attempts on 3 than this game. So if he was 1 of 9 from 3, normally on a good day, he shoots like between 15 to 18 threes in a game. But this one is shooting 10, but he made only 1 out of it. So that's why, he shot only 9 and he made only 1 out of it, but he was minus 26. So OKC's length will continue to give him a lot of problem, and that's where everything, really comes in. Mobley and Allen, they were outplayed by Chet. They were outplayed by Chet. Chet made it very difficult for them to really dominate their style of play. So they combined for 32 points, 16 rebounds, and minus 42 combined plus minus, which is not good enough. You understand? So those are some of the problems that, the Cavs team are still going to face. Jalen Tyson had good numbers, but no impact. It was 16 points, 10 rebounds, and minus 26. Even though he has been a sensation this season, I like what I'm seeing from him. Those are some of the things they need to improve on. Chet Holmgren is becoming a monster in the game of today, and I like what I'm seeing from him. They would really need him in the postseason. The season that he was injured was the season when Oklahoma City didn't get to the final. But the next season, when he was very fit, he was able to get them to the final, and that's why he's an important figure in the team. So the last game I'll be analyzing today is the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks have been hot and cold, and now that they've also traded their supposedly best point guard in Trae Young, right now they have to go on with the season without him. Milwaukee Bucks have been one of the greatest disappointments I've seen this season. With the structure of the team and with the fact that they have one of the best players in the league, who for the first time was not included in the starters for the All-Star game, and that's Antetokounmpo. There's been a silent battle of him probably asking for a trade through silent process of being, they call it silent aggression. So he really wants out of the team, but he will never come out to say he wants a trade. But if you look at it, they survived the Atlanta second half push. That's exactly the best way to look at it. If you look at all the quarters, Milwaukee led in the first quarter, 2019. They led in the second quarter, 34-19. But in the third quarter, Atlanta just gave us 34-26. And fourth quarter, Atlanta gave 38-32. So Atlanta had the final push towards the end, and Milwaukee Bucks were able to survive it because they've already had a plus 16 halftime lead. It was 54-36 already. So that was what just helped them because they couldn't stop the bleeding from what I was saying. And they were just able to manage through and make sure that they were able to survive it. The Milwaukee efficiency came from their 49% field goal percentage in the first two quarters that helped them. But in the entire game, they ended with 49%. They were 44% from three. They had 16 of 36. 72% of on free throws, 47 rebounds, and 24 assists. So if you look at it generally, you will see that the inside dominance for Giannis and Turner can still produce a lot of magic in the offseason. But the first thing is for them to qualify. Make sure that you get into the offseason and let's start to see some magic between Giannis and Turner. Perimeter shooting was also good. AJ Green is still shooting well. Kuzma and Trent Jr., they are still shooting very well. Bench scoring also came well from Porter Jr., Portis, and Cole Anthony. But however, there's this collective execution that I saw with Giannis doing 21%. He had a monster night. Not too many points, but it's still a good impact on the team. He had 21 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 assists. He had 3 steals and 1 block. So it shows that he's still doing a lot of physical takeover for games like this. He's still controlling the glass. I saw their defensive rotations, and it shows that the coach is still able to bring out some of those old habits. And that transition pace was also good. Late game rebounding. With 2 of the good bigs in the league, they will still continue to drive the narratives. So AJ Green is still shooting well, 18 points with 6 of 12 from field goal and 6 of 12 from 3, which is a plus 14 while he was on the floor. Miles Turner has been a bit quiet, but very essential. I feel it's the postseason we are going to really see him shine. He has been a bit quiet for a while, and I wanted to say it. I don't know why. But he just had 14 points, 8 rebounds. He scored 14 threes. And, still played well for them. He stretched the floor a bit well. Because Atlanta's defense, need... Atlanta's style of play is because they don't really have a short point guard anymore, like Trae Young was with them. Right now, they have slightly taller guys. So you need a center that can match them on your team. And that was where, Giannis had to come in, Miles Turner had to come in to make sure that, they match them up. And that's exactly what I saw. Porter Jr. also helped, from the bench for Milwaukee team. Atlanta, they also had their stars playing well. If you ask me, Jalen Johnson gave us 28 points, but it was not just enough. 16 rebounds, and it was plus 16 while he was on the floor. He attacked mismatches very well. He crashed the glass, and he was hitting timely shots, if you ask me. So all I can say is this is a good team. They are good enough for the playing, but not for top 6, even in the East, as far as I'm concerned. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's SGA's cousin. He had 32 points, a monster game because he scored about 7 threes. Everything was just pouring in. So it was a scoring explosion for him. He played well, but it would have been good if they had won this game because that was an opportunity for us to see him in a different light. Just like I said, Dyson Daniels too, who was a good addition to them last season, had 17 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. Nearly a triple-double, but defensively, he struggled to contain Porter Jr. and AJ Green. So that's just it. So Atlanta's weak points kind of decided the game. They were 12 of 42 from 3. That was 29%. And that's what affected them. And their bench inconsistency also came against them. Only CJ McCollum had 17 points and plus 17. Every other person struggled. So those are some of the things that they need to work on and, try and make it count between now and the end of the season. And that's where we ended it for the games that were played on the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which was 19th. And now that we're going into the rival week, I'll be coming back to you at the end of the rival weeks with some of the updates. Thank you very much for staying till the end. Your host once again, Taiwo Onajobi on London Assist Maple Sports. Have a wonderful week ahead and God bless.